Hi, and welcome back to EdTech Insider. I'm Andrew Cohen, the founder of Brainscape, and today we're here with John Katzman, founder of Princeton Review back a couple decades ago, and currently the founder of Tutor.com. How are you doing, John?
I'm fine. How are you, Andrew?
I'm doing great. So first of all, thanks for joining us here on a Saturday afternoon up at home. I know you and I have talked a good bit recently about where Tutor's heading and in general the future of education. When you first mentioned Tutor to me, you described it as online university degrees that don't suck or something to the degree. What made you feel like there was a need for disrupting the online degree space?
Well, look, every medium starts out with porn, right? And DVDs or VHS or the internet was, largely porn. 60% of AOL and the other venues as well. What happens, though, is mainstream media eventually comes in, right, as the media is proves itself. And what was weird is not that the first generation of online learning wasn't very good and was sort of low end, inexpensive, and crappy. It's that nothing's come in from the great universities since. The internet's kind of proven itself at this point. You would expect Harvard and Stanford and MIT and Georgetown and USC to have great, large scale, high quality online programs and to be the lion's share of online learning. And instead, they've been largely sitting on the sidelines and letting the for-profits continue to do stuff that's not always terrible, but isn't great.
So I just graduated from my master's degree a few years back at Columbia, and a lot of the online learning that I took was pretty much the equivalent of a PowerPoint. Sometimes they have some fancy technology, but you're clicking through. Maybe there's some kind of static test or assessment at the end. What is it about Tutor's technology that makes it different and compelling compared to the alternatives?
Well, the first is that we're trying to do something good. At a lot of schools, they hand a professor a couple $1,000 and say, go do stuff online. We hire a team of instructional designers to work with the faculty. So for 3 months, if it's your course, I'm gonna sit down with you and figure out, all right, what happens in week 3 of your course, and what parts of that are asynchronous. In other words, do we really want the kids to do, hopefully collaboratively, in an engaging way online before they walk into the synchronous class, where there'll be a lot of discussion. So, in a sense, to reinvent online education for the internet, you have to say some parts are going to be synchronous, some parts are asynchronous. Let's make the asynchronous stuff really compelling, really collaborative, and we're doing the best we can to figure that out as we go.
That's interesting. I know a lot of the tools that are out there are pretty much, here's the tool, make it on your own. And a lot of universities might have spent some of their budget on creating their own tools to try to fit their purposes, but obviously they're not the experts. So I think there's an interesting combination of you guys being the experts, not just in the technology, but also helping to develop the content.
Yeah, you
Um,
think about it,
mhm.
it's hard, right? You're a philosophy professor, you're a psych professor, you're not an expert in online pedagogy and how to present things online in using sophisticated animation or simulations or even video. Uh, why should you be?
Right, and I think the combination thereof, you had mentioned before that the cost of content or the price of content will eventually be moving to zero. And so I think a lot of the value is taking existing content and combining it with the right technologies. What are the values in the technology itself that takes that content and brings it to life and gives it more of the value?
I'm not sure the answer for 2012, but I have no idea of what the answer is going to be in 2015. Like, to some degree, uh, you're just trying to push the medium and trying to stay up with changes in technology. So as bandwidth gets better, as the tool sets get better, I think you'll move from something that is organically web, right, which is short, interactive objects held together in some way, to things that are every generation is going to be that much more interactive and that much more fun.
And when you're working with the professors to determine which are the components that make more sense to be synchronous, which make more sense asynchronous, what are a couple tips or things that you've learned in the process of what just should always be done in the traditional means, and what makes the most sense to do online or synchronously?
A lot of people are saying it to the degree it's almost trite, but it's true. Anything that smacks of a lecture, anything where you're just talking, I don't need to bring everybody together we have students in 35 countries, right, in virtually every time zone. I don't need to bring people together synchronously to listen to a lecture. So you want to turn things on their head. You want all the lecture kind of stuff to be done before class, asynchronously. And then when you get to class, you want it to be discussion. And the professor as leading a discussion, and frankly, online discussion, I haven't seen it work with more than 15 people and be truly interactive. So you want to bring it down to small classes that meet, that no one's saying more than 2 sentences in a row.
So kind of the bite-sized discussion model working better synchronously. Do the students ever use the technology for their own group collaboration outside of the teacher-facilitated classroom model?
Absolutely. I mean, you really want to make each object not only compelling, but hopefully interactive. So you want students working on a project together, both synchronously and asynchronously. You want, to gamify whenever possible the content.
Mm-hmm.
In class itself, you might have breakout sessions. We're all talking, and then you three go over here and work on that. You three go over here, work on that. The professor bounces around from room to room, then brings everybody back together. That's a perfectly legitimate model.
So what I love about this model is that as you work with a single university or a single professor and realize that there's a need for a new type of functionality, like for example the student group functionality, you can then later use that module in many future classes. So
That's right.
The more you develop, the exponentially more useful it seems to become.
We developed, for instance, a bunch, first for our teaching program, iPad, iPhone, and Android versions of the learning management system. Fully half of our students now have, at least weekly, are using the mobile version to take their classes and to do their work.
With all the same functionality replicated on the mobile device?
Yeah.
Do they seem to be using certain functionalities differently from the mobile device as they would be using it online?
That's such a great question, and I don't know. There are things that are certainly easier to do and harder to do on a smaller device. The synchronous classes don't work as well, but the asynchronous stuff, certainly looking at videos or just doing simple reading is a lot easier than more complex tasks. And it really is just a matter of real estate.
So in the next 5 or 10 years, how do you see the future of online university degrees moving? How does Tutor fit into that?
I could give you a 30-minute answer on that, but the quick answer is I'd like to stay as agile and as cutting edge as possible, right? So we're working with really good schools, and as I say, you want to leave the bleeding edge sometimes to somebody else, but you want to be right in there behind it. And so watching what's working, and then specifically, like, you're working on some bio course, and somebody comes up with some beautiful little module explaining how the heart pumps, blood. I want that object. So A, I want to stay in touch with what's changing in technology, but B, we always want to be everybody else's content plus whatever content we need to develop in-house.
Learning from all the best of breed stuff that's out there is certainly a model that works, and as stuff gets better, we'll continue to see both online university degrees and Tutor evolve with it, and it should be an exciting ride.
I hope so, and I think so. I mean, people think of online education as a way to really save money, lower tuitions, and I I've heard somebody from ASU brag that he could give a course at $10 a student. But what you're really talking about is a correspondence course, and what you're really talking about is a course with very limited capacity for ongoing R&D to do the kind of thing you just said. So if instead you say, look, let's hold tuition flat, or let's move tuition a little down, but meanwhile generate enough revenue that we can continue to invest in better and better tech, in better and better content, and just say that the job here is excellence first and cost containment second, I think you can do amazing things and really keep American universities at the cutting edge of higher ed.
All right, so if somebody wants to continue watching you guys, I know they could obviously go to your website at tutor.com, which I'll flash here at the bottom. Your Twitter handle and other ways to keep an eye on the innovations that you're doing.
You know, we don't think of ourselves as Tutor. Tutor is named after my old dog Tor. Our motto is "Great Universities Unleashed." We're not a consumer brand, and we aren't that interested in becoming one. We're Georgetown. We're USC. We're UNC Chapel Hill. Following those programs is the best way to follow what we're doing. We'll talk through and with our partners as opposed to as sort of an independent player. But I'll tell you what they should really do is come to Chelsea Piers and come visit, and whether it's a company that has something that we should be looking at a partnership with in some way, or or a licensee, or just someone who's great who should be joining us, the best way is to come visit.
That's humble greatness. If you want to see the great stuff that Tutor's doing, look at their clients and the people that they're making look good through the innovations that they're doing. John, thank you very much.
We're making each other look good. All right, thank you, Andrew.
We look forward to staying in touch and watching you next time. Once again, I'm Andrew Cohen with EdTech Insider, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.